Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Welcome, dear learners, to the another session of International Business Management. I am Dr. Manisha Goswami, Assistant Professor at Institute of Business Management, GLA University, Mathura. Today we are going to begin with lecture number 19, and lecture number 19 is regarding International Human Resource Management. This is going to be the part 2 of the discussion which we started in the previous lecture regarding the International Human Resource Management. Let's quickly look at what are the aspects that we had discussed in the previous lecture. In the previous lecture, we talk about the various staffing styles, and in that staffing style, we get to know that predominantly ethnocentric companies and the polycentric approach companies or the geocentric approach company have different ideology towards the staffing style. Right, there are expatriate option in front of them, there is a host country national option in front of them, there is a third country national option in front of them. Right, those who are ethnocentric and they find that host country may not be holding the required skill matching with the requirement of organization vision and mission, they go for expatriate style of staffing. If in case the company is going for polycentric and they want their product to be closely associated with the customer taste and preferences, they are going to be in a host country national style of staffing. In case the company want their product to be globally acceptable, they want the product where there is a cultural universal, there is no boundaries, and the common product can be circulated across the globe. In that case, a geocentric company will go for third country national. So these three different style of staffing have already been discussed, and we had also tried to cover the advantage and disadvantage of having expatriate manager in the organization, because it usually considered that expatriate are going to be paid more and they should be compensated more, and their psychology well-being has to be taken care of. The cultural issues the person is facing or the cultural shock the person is undergoing has to be taken care of. So these different aspects have been discussed and covered in the part 1 of International Human Resource Management. Today we are going to begin with the part 2 of International Human Resource Management, and the points that we will be covering are recruitment selection process which take place for the International Human Resource Management, training and development which take place for International Human Resource Management. We will also be talking about the performance appraisal and the system of appraising the expatriate in the host country. We will also cover the compensation policies and present the international labor relation and employee participation in the multinational enterprise and how it is helping to have a healthy international labor relationship, how it is helping to maintain the harmony at different parts of the subsidiaries of your organization. So let's get started. Let's begin with the first topic, that is regarding the recruitment selection. But before that, let's have a little overview about the human resource management and all. When it comes to the estimation, when it comes to the understanding of the human resource or the manpower, the first thing which comes in the mind, they are the people who, because of whom the organization is running. They are the people who are able to sacrifice their 1/4 span of the life while working for somebody else's organization. They are the people who are trying to align their objectives with the objectives of the organization. So they can never be treated as commodity. So they can never be treated as slave. They should rather be treated as an asset to your organization. And this is what nowadays many MNCs have come up with this picture in mind, that whenever they will be opening the MNC in a country like India, where trade union used to be so activated, they used to create havoc in the life of the employers, because the employers not used to provide healthy environment conditions for the worker to work in. They were exploiting worker like anything. That's why there was an aggravation of trade union system in our country. And keeping that active trade union system and the proper act of the Trade Union Act in our country, the MNC come up with all those solutions well in advance. They get to know the trade union usually raise voice because they are less paid. They are raising voice because their working conditions are not good. They are raising voice because nobody is there to handle their grievance if the issues are there. So they come up with a solution well in advance, and in multinational, trade union is absolutely not at all active. They are playing no role in it because all the facilities for which the trade union would be raising the voice are already well sorted. Now let's get into the understanding of the human resource and how, when you are trying to open your plant in the foreign country and you have to figure out that which particular skill or the requirement of the skill set you require for the manpower recruitment in the host country. For this you need to have an estimation of the human resource requirement. And as far as the estimation of human resource requirement, let's try to see what are the steps involved in it. The first step in the recruitment for overseas operation is manpower planning. You have to assess how many people you will be in need of. You have to figure out what is going to be the number of highly skilled manpower, what is going to be the number of skilled manpower, semi-skilled manpower and unskilled manpower, and how many people I'm already having and how many people I need to recruit. You have to have this understanding. When international firm is confirmed to trade in the beginning, its requirement would be a few employees initially, right? When you are starting up your business there in the host country, you are not going to all the way start with lakhs of people working over there. You might be starting with few peoples initially, and then with those few people you try to gel up, you try to coordinate well, and you try to bring the alignment of your headquarters vision, mission with those of your subsidiary unit which you have opened in the host country, so that they can understand and can start working, and they start taking the pace of working. Because initially if there will be large mob of the people working under you, it may be a difficulty for you to control by being in your headquarters. So initially they will be appointing few people and try to be very selective when they are selecting the initial people to start their startup or the subsidiary in the host country. When it goes for manufacturing operation, the requirement for sure is going to be of much more employees, because they have to have a proper production setup, and the production setup largely depend upon the demand in the market, and accordingly you are going to have a capacity of the production maybe of 1,000 tons or 5,000 or 10,000. If the demand is high, you need to have more capacity of the production, and for more capacity of production you need to have good number of employees in the organization. Though automation is coming up at a fast pace, it is taking away the job opportunities, but still for handling the work of day-to-day work, you need to have some people in your organization, which is comparatively higher note inside of the manufacturing unit. If manufacturing operation involves subcontracting of various components, a limited person will be recruited. Say for example, like Nike, what Nike is doing, they are not doing the manufacturing in their own country. What they are doing, they are having just some limited number of people in their home country, and they are subcontracting with Vietnam, and they have given a complete autonomy to them to do the production for the Nike, right? That is what the subcontracting is. They are giving the design to them, they are giving the quality of the fabrics to them, and they are in the process of processing that. They don't have any right over the raw material which is being provided by the Nike company to the Vietnam manufacturing setup or subcontracting setup there in the Vietnam. They just have a right on processing that raw material into the finished good, and they are charging the processing fee from the Nike company. So if you are into such kind of the setup, you comparatively have to put less head in understanding how many people you will be in need of. Considering all these aspects, firm estimate its manpower requirement at different levels. So keeping in mind the nature of the work you will be into, the kind of the manpower requirement will be in the kind of the nature of work. Is it going to be labor intensive work, or is it going to be capital intensive work, or it is going to be the technology intensive work? So you need to question yourself that what kind of work you are going to get into in the host country, and accordingly you are going to plan out the manpower you require for your organization. And when you are planning your manpower from the host country, you have to conduct certain interview, and you have to undergo certain recruitment selection process that we will see in the upcoming slide. So when you are going for the recruitment selection of the person in the host country, or maybe from your own country, you need to find out who can be the best person to go from your home country to the host country to establish the unit. You have to find out certain sources of the recruitment, right? Let's look into it. Once the required number of the employee is being estimated, in the previous slide we have seen that we are trying to estimate the number of people we require, and the estimation of the number of people largely governed by the nature of work you are into and in which particular country you are moving into, right? So these two things are going to be essentially a ground on the basis of which you will be figuring out which particular, how many number of people you may require for the host country subsidiary, right? Then next, moving towards the source of recruitment. Once you have identified this, now the various source of recruitment are there which you can consider for the selection of it. Like international firm consider whether these position could be filled internal transfer, through the internal transfer, that is what is known as expatriate, right? You try to transfer your own experts, top skill performers from your home country to the host country. So is it going to be an internal transfer? If the current position of employee is not surplus, then firm resort to the fresh recruitment. There may be the possibility that you may not be having a sufficient top key performers in your home country, so you cannot ask all the top performers of your country company to move to the host country to establish it. Then it will not be feasible, and it is not going to suffice your purpose even, because then who will be taking care of your home country business? Then you need to go for some fresh recruitment, or asking just 1 or 2 top performers to move to the host country for initial day of establishment of the organization. Then moving towards the different process of the selection and what are the criteria a particular company would be selecting when they are going for the selection process of the worker, right? As soon as the announcement is there for the vacancy, there are many applications, your resume or CV start coming to the HR person of the organization, and on the basis of the shortlisting of the resume or the CVs of the applicants, they are going to call for the interview. They might be called for the interview, and once you are called for the interview, there are certain parameters which they will be checking. As per the Heller 1980, relevant qualities which are required by the manager in overseas assignments have been listed as follows, and they used to consider these point of criteria while making a decision of selecting the people during 1980s. Right, so these were the flexible personality, right? They, when any person they are going to appoint for foreign subsidiary, they might be undergoing the recruitment process within their own country, right? Home country, they are trying to select some best people from the home country for the project going to take up in the host country, or there may be the possibility that they might be conducting the interview in the host country itself, right? So whatever the situation is, either you are conducting an interview in your own country for giving the project to that newly appointed person to go to abroad and get this assignment done, or else you might be undergoing the recruitment process within the host country. So you will be focusing on the flexibility on the personality, right? Why? Because in the environment is very dynamic, environment is very changing, right? So in order to cope up with the change in the environment, you need to be flexible enough. If you are rigid, then there will be the problem for the headquarter organizations or the parent company to incorporate smooth effective changes in the organization. So for bringing the smooth effective changes in the organization every fortnightly or within various in a financial year, you need to be flexible enough to incorporate those changes, and you should be enthusiastic enough also to take the risk and bring the new changes for the betterment of the organization. And for this, they usually prefer young people in the organization rather than age-old people, because age-old people have certain set of their experience, they have certain set of their excellencies and the skill and the competency. They don't want to experiment much with those things, and they get rigid about their style of doing the work, because they started thinking that I've been doing this thing for so many years and these are the only practices which can make a particular organization successful. I've been seeing for the past 10 years or 20 years. So people show their resentment when they want to, when the age-old people are being asked to be flexible enough and be the change maker in the organization, or act like a catalyst in the organization. They usually show some resentment and they show their rigidity towards such kind of the changes, and that is the reason why people prefer young people over the age-old people. They prefer the experienced people of around 10 to 12 or 13 years and 15 years to the max to take up such kind of the changes, because they are the people who are at the verge of grooming their career to a further level, and they show their flexibility more as compared to the age-old people. Next criteria, which used to be considered in the 1980s when they were making the recruitment selection process, is the cultural empathy. That as you are going to move from your home country to the host country, if you are carrying your own culture all the time in your brain, what will be the implication of it? You will start considering the other person as inferior. You start comparing the person culture from your culture. Rather, you should have the habit of making the person understand or feel comfortable with you. No matter what your culture is, still equally respectable, and the culture which I am following is also equally respectable. Such kind of empathy you need to carry with you, no matter to what religion, no matter to what caste, race, system you belong to. But if you are moving from your country to the host country, you should go with open heart. You should accept every country culture, you should accept their speaking habits, you should accept their fooding habits, you should respect their dressing habits, right? You cannot impose what you are, right? And rather, on the contrary side, the host country people should also be empathetic towards the foreign people. So cultural empathy is also one of the parameter which recruiters or the interviewers use to check among the probable or the potential candidates sitting for the interview. Next, they concerned about the friendliness. The people have to be very friendly in terms of their approach of getting the work done. The style of leadership should be very benevolent rather than autocratic, right? So you need to be very benevolent, you need to be very kind, you need to be very generous, you need to give certain space to the people who are going to work under you. If you are not having a friendly approach, it is going to create a lot of gap between you and the worker. And if that gap keep on persisting in the organization, the productivity, connectivity, belongingness of the worker is also going to suffer very badly. So if you want your organization to survive and sustain, and if you want your organization to be a productive organization, and you want your organization to have a healthy working environment, you should behave in a nice and decent manner with your worker. You should not consider your worker as your servant. You should consider them as an intellectual well-being, and you should respect their personal requirement as well as their professional requirement. So you as a leader who is going to hold on the entire activity of the host country company, then you need to be little friendly, you need to be kind. You should open up your thought process by bringing the worker participation on the table. Next is the patience. Always have a patience. Give time to your people to get the work done. You cannot expect the change over the night. So you should, after bringing certain changes in the organization, give certain time to the worker to understand what changes we are expecting from them, what kind of the work we are expecting from them, and if they need some sort of the training, that training should also be provided to them. Don't assume that everything is known to the worker. You have to have an understanding that workers are here for working. They are not the experts, right? So you have to bring those expertise in them, and for bringing those expertise, you should train them. If you are coming up with certain changes, right, it is not at all possible that worker have the knowledge of all the grounds and all the sectors and all the possibilities. You need to bring those expertise in them by giving a short training programs, or the development program should be provided to the worker in order to let the people feel comfortable with the changes that you are trying to bring. And don't expect the quick returns from the worker. Give certain space to the worker after giving a training, and then re-evaluate their performance. Have a discussion with the worker why that particular thing have not been achieved, right? So such kind of the mindset is being there in the interviewing a potential candidate or not is also going to be the point of concern when interview will be making a selection of the host country worker, right? So they will be checking your patience level, they will be asking certain questions related to your patience level. They may ask certain questions which create an anxiety, frustration, or you make you annoyed. But how good you are in overcoming such stressful situation, on that basis they will be checking your patience. And checking of patience is actually for making you comfortable in a odd situations. If things are not going in your favor, how you are going to behave, and that's called for your patience behavior. Need to be prudence, right? You need to be correct, right? If you are not correct, then get the knowledge of it, right? If you being the person who is going to lead the entire subsidiary in the host country, whatever the activity you are going to take are going to be considered of utmost importance, are going to be considered inevitable for the organization, for the execution. So before strategizing the course of action, before fixing that this particular activity has to be done, there has to have some prudency in your activity. You have to have a fair knowledge that what are the things to be done and what are the things not to be done in the organization, right? You should be ethically correct in your action, you should be ethically correct in all your moves and the directions. Next point is the education and professional credentials, right? Educational and professional credentials are equally important. That talks about your technical knowledge about the particular product, about the particular field, right? So the technical knowledge of your is utmost important to ensure that you will be able to make the people work in the organization. Will you be able to understand the ground realities to which my workers are undergoing? So educational and professional credentials are equally important, apart from these different traits which are to be there in the person, apart from having the qualification, degree or the certification or the experience. Apart from this, these certain other essential traits were considered to be so essential when anybody was interviewing the potential candidate for the host country during 1980s. They used to give consideration, and these were the parameters for the selection of the employees for the international market, right? So now let's look into somebody else as an, right, let's look at the Tung study. He conducted his study in 1981, and he pointed out some more relevant points of the criteria and the selection of the manager for overseas operation, as managerial talent is considered to be one of the best parameter, right? In the mid of the 80s, this parameter was used to be followed as per the Haller. Later on, they come up with further study in 1981, and he come up with his point of criteria, and most of the company refer this criteria to be taken into consideration while making a selection decision. And so most of the people used to consider the Haller as the standard format. So let's look into another format where you can find some essential points to be taken into consideration while you are selecting a worker for your organization, or the topmost position people, or the key skill people, or key position holders for your organization. Like, one is the managerial talent, right? Managerial talent talks about how good you are in planning, organizing, staffing, directing and controlling, right? They will be giving you different situations, and on the basis of situations they will be checking your planning skills, your organizing skills, your staffing skills, your directing skills and your controlling skills, right? Because ultimately you will be the leader in the host country, and if you don't hold any managerial talent, you don't know how to get the work done by others, and all the time you are taking up all the duties upon your head. You are not able to distribute the charge, and you are not able to distribute the authority to other people. How you will be able to carry on with the huge organization over your shoulder alone? So you need to pass on your authorities and the responsibility to other people under you, so that the people start contributing for your organization. And if you are not good in your managerial skills, your managerial talent is missing, you fail to identify the right person for the right job as a person, then how you can be a good person for the organization? So they will be checking your managerial ability. They will be seeing whether the person is having good managerial knowledge, he know how to get the work done, then can be the right person for the host market. Next is the maturity level of the person also need to be checked, that you need to be little mature in terms of taking your decisions. If you are trying to be very kiddish, or if you are trying to bring childish decisions in the organization, and you are very quick in giving response, which indicate that you are very kiddish and very childish, right? So you need to have patience, you need to behave maturely in terms of bringing the change in the organization, in terms of reacting to somebody's behavior in the organization, in terms of training the people. If the people are not very good performer, they are a little unproductive for the past few days, then you should not just immediately fire the people from the organization. Rather, you should have patience, take the mature decision by giving them some time, have a conversation with such kind of the worker, counsel the people, and try to find out the probable solution for the worker in the organization. If you are immature, you might be getting into lot of hassle in the organization. You might be creating trouble for yourself, and the entire organization may get the wrong image, or may create this kind of the behavior of the leader in the host country may ruin the entire image of the brand of the MNC. So you as a person who is going to be the top executor, or the person who is going to hold the host country company as a key leader, then you need to be mature enough, right? So they will be checking your maturity level. They will be raising certain questions which are going to check whether you are mature or not. Next point is the emotional stability. if you kept on fluctuating in your personal and professional life, right, if you don't know how to balance out both the things, your personal life and your professional life, there is no concept of work life balance in your thought process, in your personality, then there will be a problem in coping up with the host country, because you might be a resident of European country, you might be asked to move to Japan, or you might be asked to move to Korea for some kind of the projects, right, and as you are emotionally unstable, you have a feeling of homesickness, or you're missing your home food, or you are missing your own country culture, your own house, your own comfort, right. So in that case, it would be very difficult for you to survive and sustain a host country. So they will be cross checking you on the basis of your emotional stability. They will be seeing whether you are a emotionally balanced worker or not. In an adverse situation, if anything happens wrong and if any mishappening happens, right, how you would be behaving and reacting to that situation. So they will be checking your emotional well-being as well, and even they provide emotional support also to the worker through counselor and psychiatrist. Next, as per the Tung study 1981, they will be focusing on adaptability to the new environment, right? How quick you will be able to adapt yourself to the new environment which is going to be exposed to you when you will be joining the organization. So how good you will be in adapting your entire family, how good they will be in coping up and adjusting with the new environment which you will get exposed to when you will be joining the market, or when you will be joining the new host country organization. Right. So the next is initiative. That means that as per the Tung study, you have to take a lot of initiatives in order to bring the organization from zero level to the highest level. So if they try to, if you are not an initiator, if you are not a risk taker, if you are not the one who will be able to bring changes in the organization, then the organization will get stagnant and eventually it will decline, right? So if your organization if you want your organization to flourish, grow well, what you need to be a good initiator. You need to be a true leader who is going to create the tomorrow leader by assisting the followers, by making the followers ready for being a leader in tomorrow, right? So you should have a ability of visualizing the things well in advance. You should have a ability of communicating the things well. You should have a ability of getting the works done by your people. You should have a ability of taking the risk, right? So all these things will be making you a right person to be in the host market as a worker. Another very important thing that goes without saying, the technical knowledge, qualification, degree is important everywhere. That is utmost important, right? You need to have certain year of experience in the same field. But apart from these technical knowledge and the degree qualification, these things are considered to be the most prime, because whosoever will be applying for the post must be having certain technical knowledge, must be having certain degree, right? That's why they are applying. They know the basic eligibility criteria for applying for certain posts, right? And there are hundreds of applicants, and out of the hundreds of applicants, only few people are going to be get selected. And on what basis they will be selected? They will be selected on the basis of the managerial talent, maturity, emotional stability, adaptability to new environment, and initiative skills, right? So this is the study of the Tung, and this is one of the parameter which lot many companies used to follow in the early 1980s, right? So now we are heading towards another style. Now it is widely accepted that personal trait play a key role in successful performance of international manager. As per the Zingta in 1999, consider the following trait play a significant role, like competency, adaptability, and the personal characteristics are going to be the three prime criteria for the selection of the worker in the organization, right? Like in case of the competency, they will be talking about the competency in terms of the technical knowledge, and knowledge of environment, right? So and under the competency, they are going to check your technical knowledge, they are going to cross verify your degree, your qualification, your experiences are going to be cross checked, right? Apart from this, they will be cross checking your knowledge about the environment, how clear you are about the macro environment changes, how much clear you are about the micro environment changes, what are the things going to be affect the organization, from the what are the parameters going to affect the organization in terms of the macro environment, what are the things going to affect the organization in terms of the in terms of micro environment, your internal environment, that is your resource structure, culture, strategy, right? Do you have the understanding of the Chandler thesis, what it states that a strategy determines the structure, right? This is one of the very important outcome of the thesis of the Chandler. What he states that strategy always determine the structure and structure affects the strategy. That means if you as a manager or if you as a top leader in the organization coming up with certain strategy and you are ignoring the proper execution on the structure, existing structure, then this existing structure is going to badly affect the execution of the strategy in the organization. And that if you are giving due reference to the structure and you are bringing the required changes in the structure and then bringing a change in the strategy, then your strategies are going to be executed in the organization. So you as a manager, do you have this much of understanding? Do you understand the importance of strategy? Do you understand the right implication should be made in the structure? What different type of structures are prevailing? And you as a manager, how you are going to bring the effectiveness in the hierarchy of the organization? So that kind of understanding is required. You as a manager in the host country, do you have the understanding how you will be making use of the SWOT matrix? How you will be creating a SWOT matrix, what kind of the permutation combination of strength and opportunities and threat you will be making in order to overcome your weakness and in order to eliminate the threats from the external market. So this kind of understanding comes under the competency level, and different set of the questions people will be posing in order to check your technical knowledge, in order to check your knowledge about the environment which is surrounding the particular sector to which you are going to be a member of. Next is the adaptability, that how quick you are in adjusting with the changes, how quickly you bring the new normal in the system. If or you believe in cripping, or you believe in nagging all the time that whatever is happening is not favoring me, whatever is happening, God forbid me, that what kind of situation or what kind of the hell I'm into. Or you, on the contrary side, you are very adaptable. You are the person who take the challenges as the scope for further improvement, who take the challenges as the scope or as the opportunity to further showcase your talent to the organization. How quick you are adapting, how quick you are changing your mindset, how quick you are making others also to change their mindset is going to come under your adaptability skills as a leader of the organization. Next is the personal characteristics. The personal characteristics usually talk about the age of the worker. They are going to talk about the present income level of the worker, the kind of family the person belong to, the caste, religion, system the person belong to is going to come under the personal characteristics. And these personal characteristics also sometimes play a significant role in determining the whether the person will be able to cope up in certain circumstances or not. Right? So most of the US people and US expatriates fail in Italian environment, right? They don't able to survive and sustain in Italian environment. So US people stop sending their expatriates in Italian environment because their personal characteristics are not matching with the Italian environment, and the people show resentment, and a failure of the expatriates in Italian environment is creating a lot of psychological disturbance among the people who've been sent to Italian environment, and that's unnecessary a loss of a competent person. It is not like that worker was incompetent. The worker went to Italy from the US companies, was absolutely competent, but because of the environmental pressure or because of the environment he been into, the kind of the culture he exposed to, not able to adapt himself with that, and because of which the performance and productivity of that manager start deteriorating. As a result, US has to take almost all their expatriates from Italy to their home country. So this is one of the things which the person have to take into consideration when it comes to the recruitment or the selection of the right person in the organization, because it is very important to appoint the right person at the right place. If you fail to appoint the right person at the right place, what is going to happen? There will be a cost in the organization. They will be acting like an liability to your organization. So you have to ensure that whomsoever you are appointing is the right person, not from the perspective of the qualification only, but also from the perspective of his behavioral skills, right? You as a recruiter, you as a selector, you have to find out that person is having technical skills for sure. Apart from this, the person should have correct behavioral skills also. For example, General Electric company not only take into consideration the technical skills as a parameter for checking the right person for the organization, they do deeply analyze the behavioral skills of the worker in terms of understanding whether this worker will able to align their individual objectives with the organization objectives or not. Will this person be able to coordinate, gel well with my existing worker or not? If it is not so, then no matter the person is highly technically skilled, right, I am not going to recruit it, because if he and she is having incorrect behavioral skills which is not matching with my General Electric environment, working culture in the system, then they are going to create a disturbance. They are going to be the creator of the trouble. They are going to dilute the harmony prevailing in my system and may leads to absenteeism, attrition rate may increase, productivity is going to suffer, my image ultimately is going to suffer. So they always keep into consideration two important essential skills. One is the technical, second is the behavioral skill before taking a call or selecting a person for the organization. Now, once the employee is recruited and selected in the organization, now the next step is to create the orientation or go for the induction of the employee. For this, you need to train, and you need to go for certain training. You should go for some management development of the employee. Training is basically project based, and management development is an ongoing process. Till the time you are associated with the firm, you will be having short or some other different form of managerial development, which may be taking place once in a year or maybe twice in a year, depending upon the requirement. And management development is actually the development or grooming of a personality more than making the person technically clear about the project which is being under. In case of making a person clear about the technical know-how of the project which he is going to handle or which he is going to work in, is going to come under the training aspect. And when it comes to the managerial development, is actually grooming the overall personality of the worker in the organization as a whole. So let's look into if a person joins the organization, and if a person is going to join the organization, what different training culture he will be exposed to, she will be exposed to. So first is the cultural training. Cultural training is utmost important because in case of international HRM, you might be from India, been recruited or posted to some place in Hungary, in European country, and the culture of the Hungary is absolutely different from India. So there should be no cultural shock for you. There should be no cultural insensitivity in your mind towards the people of the Hungary. So for this, they are going to bring a amicable environment for you, and they try to bring all the workers from different parts of the world to come on the same page and start working together. Right. This usually happen in case of a geocentric company. In geocentric company, we observe they are going to go for the third country national style of the staffing. And in third country style of staffing, you might be having a headquarters in your home country like Bulgaria, but you are recruiting the people from different parts of the world. So as you are recruiting the people from different parts of the world, you need to first give them the cultural training. You try to bring the people on a same page rather than being biased towards one particular culture. Right, you might be following the Christianity, or you might be following Buddhism, you might be following Islamic culture, you might be following Hindu culture, right? It should not be like that. It should be a common platform for all the different religion or the culture people to cope and work for the organization. They should follow in corporate culture rather than their own individual culture based on their religion or the belief system they are having. So such kind of the cultural training is an ongoing process which they keep on providing, and initially when they join, that's going to be a part of the induction orientation. Next is the language training. The worker who has joined the organization as a third country national, maybe from different parts of the world to your headquarters, they are working. So they should be trained with the local language. Right. So if you are in the Netherlands, the Dutch language is spoken there. So you should be trained with the local language, that is a Dutch language. Right. No matter you have a we have a fluency over the English, but apart from the English, the local regional language will also be taught to you, so that you can converse with the local population who don't understand the English. So language training is equally important. Similarly, when anybody from US moving to the India, they are speaking fluent English, and India also, most of the people speak English and they understand English, but apart from understanding that, they will be giving a regular training to the US expatriate here in India for Hindi language. Or if they move to Maharashtra, if they are having a plant in the Maharashtra, then they will be having a proper regular training for understanding and learning the Marathi language, right? So depending upon the location where you are going to locate your plant in India, they will be giving you knowledge of the regional language more loudly. In that case, they prefer Hindi, and a particular specific Marathi language will also, or the specific regional language will also be provided to the concerned expatriate move from US to India or any other country to India. Practical training will also be provided to the worker. What is a practical training? Here in this case, the person will get to know that on ground how I am going to work in India, right? You have framed certain strategies on the paper, you have framed certain vision, mission, you have defined the business, you have set the objectives for the organization, right? You are ready with almost all the analysis of the external environment and internal environment. You have analyzed the all the SWOT matrix. But how practically it is going to be possible when it comes to the Indian customer, when it comes to the Indian worker, when it comes to the Indian technology, when it comes to Indian infrastructure, right? How I will be making it practically possible, right? That also required to be given to the expatriate when they move to India. You might have a theories, you might have the notebooks, you might have a past experience, you might be trained by the people who've been working earlier to you over there. But you as a person, you have your own individual identity, you have your own managerial skills, you have own view of looking at the situation. So how you will get the things done? They are the people going to train you, they are the people provide you the practical training of bringing the conceptual things into the reality from the perspective of the ground situation, the ground government policies, the taxation policies. They are going to provide you all such things to make things possible on a practical ground. Next is the repatriation of expatriates. Repatriation of expatriate means, that means you been expatriate, you been sent from US company to the Indian company, right? They in their own subsidiary or the MNC which they have established here in India, but after establishing it, you will go back to USA. This is what known as going back to USA is known as repatriation. And in case of expatriate, you come from US company, base company to India, right? And from India you are going back to USA is going to be the part of repatriation. Say for example, you've been into India for the past 10 years and you started gelling well with India, you start coping up with India, you start coping with the religion system of India, you start visiting temple and other places also, you feel you start liking the food of India, right? You start liking the dressing styles of India, so you become quite comfortable, you have absolutely changed your system to the India, and then you've been asked to go back and come back to the home country. Then this might create a problem to you again, because it took 10 years for you to cope up and adjust in the new environment, and now you're fully happy and adjusted in the host country, but now you are calling back. So this is going to call for the reversal cultural shock. This is what we discussed in the previous lecture also. Reverse cultural shock will happen when you are happy in the host country as compared to your own home country, because you have adapted to the new environment. Next situation which may arise, that because the kind of the expertise you have gained in the host country, those expertise are of no use in the home country. So the kind of expertise you might be gaining in the Indian subsidiaries, and when you will go back to the US plant is having a requirement of different set of the expertise, the managerial skills, the dealing process, the government rules and regulation, everything is going to be absolutely different. So again you have to start from the zero over there. You will be absolutely an untrained person for your home country or the parent company unit in US. So for this again repatriation is required. Again you need to be trained by the people well, so that you can get back to your own parent company, you can adjust and cope up with the environment to which you are already exposed to, but you need some repatriation training, right? So these are the different training and management development skills will be provided by the international HR person in order to make the worker comfortable in the host country or even in the parent company. Now let's talk about the performance appraisal. Right after giving training, after having an ongoing management development process, your performance will also be evaluated. Right? Why there is a need to evaluate performance? Because nobody is doing the work for charity. Right? You are doing the work for getting the salary at the end of the day, and for getting the salary at the end of the day, you need to be productive. You need to give certain business to the organization, and for giving some business to the organization, what you have to do, you have to work as per the standards set by the organization for you, right? So if you started working as per the standards given by the organization to you, there will be less gaps in your actual performance and the standards. Or you might be performer, you might be the outperformer. Whatever the standards being given to you, you always excellently perform above than the standards being given to you. So you become a top performer in the organization, and top performers are always appreciated, rewarded, appraised in the system, and which create a motivation for the rest of the workers in the organization to be the top performer, or to be the person who can attain the standards within the stipulated time frame being given to you by the employer, or the management, or the trainer, or the team leader of your organization, right? So performance appraisal is, there are certain problems in the performance appraisal, like problems may be related to the system of the performance appraisal, right? Because you might be an expatriate, you've been moved to India, and after moving to India, they started quickly assessing your performance, which should not be the practice, because you've been moved to India, right? And you need some time to cope up and adjust in India, right? And you, immediately after a month or 6 months, you start evaluating the performance of the expatriate, then this is going to create a lot of distrust, or this is going to create a lot of discomfort in the mind of the expatriate, because the situation is entirely different in India as compared to the parent company when the worker moved to India and in working adjusting with the host country. So expatriate need some time to cope up and adjust. So there are certain problems in the performance appraisal system. So you need to have a separate performance appraisal system for the expatriate. You cannot have a same style of appraisal system which you used to have for the parent company worker. Next is the guideline for the performance appraisal system. That means you need to figure out that what can be the lacunas in the performance appraisal system when it comes to expatriate, when it comes to the host country national, when it comes to the third country national style of the staffing. There are 3 different style of the staffing, like one is your expatriate, second is your host country nationals, third is your third country national. Right? In all these 3 different cases, you need to have a separate guidelines for the performance appraisal system, because they are exposed to different environment, right? Expatriate move from the home country to the host country, and he is trying to bring the uniformity in the host country by coping up with the difference in the culture, by coping up with the difference in the work system, by coping up with the difference in the infrastructure, the availability of the raw material, technology and everything. He is trying to cope up in the very different environment. So if he is trying to cope up with different environment, and you are having the same strict parameters of checking and assessing the performance of the expatriate also, then it's going to create a discomfort in the mind of the expatriate, or he may leave the organization, look for some better options, right? Another is the host country national. In case of a host country national, the workers are from the host country, and if you try to evaluate them as per the parent company standards, then it is going to again create a discomfort, because they've been not exposed to such kind of the standards of the evaluation. So parent company is having their own set of the performance appraisal. The host country national should have their own host country national standards for the performance appraisal, right? You should give certain autonomy to the people to design their own performance appraisal system for better and effective assessment of the performance, and accordingly appraisal to be provided. Not necessarily always the monetary benefit to be provided. Most of the time the non-monetary benefits also pave the way, right? And the third country national style of the staffing as you are recruiting the people from different nation, different part of the religion. So you need to find out how you should be greeting the people, how you should be rewarding the people. For some countries like US and European country, they don't like gifting culture, right? They don't like the culture of giving gifts, right? However, the Japanese and Indian or the Asian country believe in giving gifts. So this kind of the culture might not be good for US and European country people. But when you want to give some non-monetary or monetary benefits to the worker after seeing the performance, and their people are from Asia region, and if you are not giving gift, they feel like what kind of the appraisal it is. They are not giving any gift, they are not giving any appreciation note to us, they are not giving any facilitation money to us, right? So you have to see which kind of the worker, which kind of the area worker belong to, and accordingly you should have some system of giving reward and benefits, right? And you cannot have a same rule for all. You need to have difference in your approach, because expatriate is putting something very extra than the people who are in the parent company. So if you try to have a same parameter for checking and evaluating the expatriate in the host country, you are doing injustice. You are trying to bring unproductive behavior of the worker in the organization. Now next, move to the compensation. On the basis of the performance appraisal, you will be compensating the people working in the host country, and on the basis of the compensation, you will be trying to bring the happiness in the system. You will bring the happiness in the organization. You will bring the good vibes and the positive vibes in the organization, because you are hiring young people in the organization, because you believe young people are quick in adapting the changes. You are not hiring the old people. So as per the Maslow's hierarchy theory, the young people mostly work for securing their life. They mostly work for earning maximum good amount of the amount or the money, right? They are not in the self-actualization stage as those of the age-old people. They are in the stage of gaining self-esteem. They are in the stage of ensuring the security. They are in the stage of meeting out the basic requirements and other stuff, right? So if they are in this stage and you are not paying them well, then your purpose will not get solved. So you should understand some well-established theories, and you should understand why this worker is working, what is the psychology behind, right? On that basis, you should compensate your people. But different countries should have different compensation system, right? In case of an expatriate, pay should always be higher. They should be paid higher, and that is very much acceptable also, because they are leaving all their comfort. They are leaving their family back, and they are moving to the host country for establishing a unit from scratch to the level, right? So you should pay them high, because their efforts should be rewarded. And if their efforts will not be rewarded, why anybody will take so much of pain of going from home country to the host country? Why anybody would leave their family back? Why they would be putting the education of their child on stake? Why they would be putting the medical services of their family on stake, right? If they will be carrying their family to the host country, maybe like in India, if they've been put up to rural area where there is a limited medical services, limited quality of education, though the improvement in education system have started taking place after bringing a change in the new education policy in 2020. Even the lot of as far as the government policy for healthcare sector have also started improving after seeing the bad effect of the COVID-19. Government of a country start putting good amount for the healthcare sector as well. But still, as compared to the foreign developed nations, the medical service and education services are not that promising. So if no matter if they are calling and coming with their family, because their family couldn't be taken care in their home country, so they might be coming up along with the family and the spouse and the kids, then they are putting up on stake, right? Their education, their health will be on stake as compared to the developed country. So if they are taking so much of pain, if they are taking so much of ownership in your organization, you should also pay them well. You should also facilitate them in terms of quality education to be provided, in terms of the better healthcare services to be provided, right? You should compensate them. Base salary should also be little higher as compared to the home country workers. The foreign service premium should be provided, like you might be providing certain allowances to the people in terms of the hardship allowances. You might be providing certain housing allowances, your cost of living allowances, and education allowances, right? Hardship allowances is like you are putting extra effort, so you will be paid extra. Housing allowance, if in case you're not able to find the right accommodation, then they might be asked to stay in hotels, right? cost of living allowances, that whatever the, in order to meet out the living standard which you used to enjoy in your home country, they try to facilitate the same or replicate the same living standard in the host country as well. And for replicating the same standard in the host country, you will have to pay extra to your expatriate in the host country, right? Education allowances should be given to the children if they've been sent to the host country, or if they are not coming to the host country, the family decide to remain in the home country because the project is just for some years. So they decide to remain in the home country and only you are shifting from home country to the host country. In that case, an international HR person has to take care of the family who is left back in the home country in terms of the education, medical services to be taken care of in case of any emergency arising. Next is the assistance for tax equalization. That means you as an expatriate will be paying tax to your home country as well as to the host country until unless the tax treaty is signed between the two, right? Reciprocal tax treaty usually gets signed, right? So if the reciprocal tax treaty is not signed between your country, your home country and your host country, then you as an expatriate would be paying taxes to both home country as well as the host country. So in that case, that need to be reimbursed, in that case that need to be taken care by the company. Most of the countries like the UK and US are signing the tax treaties, right, so that they can easily make their people to move from one place to another. Like the country like Philippines signed the reciprocal tax treaty with UK, US, Canada, right, Mexico, right, in order to facilitate the free movement of Philippines from their place to the foreign country, or if any US people are moving to Philippines, then the expatriate don't have to pay double taxes, right, to the home country and the host country because they have signed the reciprocal tax treaty among them. Now the benefits apart from the monetary benefits, non-monetary benefits, fringe benefits to be provided to the expatriate, because it is not easy to survive and sustain in the market where the competition level is absolutely different from your home country, where the customer tastes and preferences are absolutely different from your home country, where the living standard is again different from your home country. So you're putting your extra efforts, and for each and every extra effort that you are putting up in the organization to establish your host country in the foreign market, you will be paid extra, you will be rewarded, right? So this is the part of the compensation. Let's look at the International Labour Organization, because when you are moving into international market or when you are moving to the host country, you as an international HR manager has to ensure the peace and harmony as well. So there is an organization who try to establish certain code of conduct for various HR policies across the globe. Let's look at it quickly. The main aim of ILO are to promote right at work, encourage decent employment opportunities, enhance social protection, strengthen the dialogue on work related issues. It's a unique tripartite structure given equal voice to worker, employer and government to ensure that view of the social partners are closely reflected in labor standards and in shaping the policy and the program. That means they give the voice to the worker in terms of bringing the harmony, right? They are ensuring that people are working hand in hand, the people are working with full coordination and full support. ILO was founded in 1919 and in the wake of destructive war to pursue the vision based on the premise that universal lasting peace can be established only if it is based on social justice, right? The peace can only be established when there is a social peace. ILO became the first specialized agency of the United Nations in 1946. The key issues generally the labor of the international market faces, like there is a issue whether the problem to be resolved by the headquarter or by the country concerned, right? There are issues of the trade union, but in MNC the trade union issues are negligible because they are already providing those benefits which trade union usually demand for. Political issues arise, social and identity, personal identity also come in between, because you might consider yourself supreme and the host country as inferior. So social and the personal identity also get sometimes clashes, and your power and the knowledge of the area also become a prime concern to cope and adjust in the foreign country. International labor relation is supporting in bringing the together access the productivity and suitably remunerated workers in the organization. They ensure safety of the workers at the workplace. They try to ensure the social protection of the family if they've been left back to the home country. They ensure the better prospect for the personal development and social integration. They ensure freedom for individual to set out their claims if any claims are there, if any accident happen, or if any mishappening happens. In that case, they are the people who are going to ensure the proper and timely repayment of the claim. They organize and to participate in decision that affects their life is a point of concern of international HRM, because the job is not just to get the work done. The job is not just to find the right person to be at the right place. It's also to make the person comfortable in the host country. That's a job of international HRM. You as a person going to take care of the psychology of the worker working in the foreign country. So this is the points that we had discussed so far. Let's quickly review it. In today's lecture, we talk about recruitment selection, we talk about the performance appraisal and even the training, we talk about the compensation, and we even talk about the international labor relation. With this we end international HRM issues. Thank you all, and for giving this lecture I refer to these books. I hope you have understood the lecture. All the best.